ما ظاهر على بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. First of all, I would like to thank Prof. Sana for her kind invitation. This is my first time to participate. Inshallah, it won't be the last time. I was given the task of talking about GI manifestation of cystic fibrosis. So yesterday we had a very comprehensive lecture by Prof. Fouda, and I'll just add into it. I won't repeat whatever she repeated, but cystic fibrosis is an autosomal recessive genetic disorder that is caused by mutation in the CFTR gene, and it's a multi-system disorder. Affects multiple organs. Wherever there is a mucus production, then the CFTR there is less expressed, hence is causing accumulation of mucus. Although commonly associated with lung diseases, CF also affects the pancreatic, hepatobiliary, and gastrointestinal system. So again, yesterday was a very comprehensive about the pathophysiology, and again, so I won't go through that, but of note is there over 2,000 mutation of the CFTR gene, and Delta 508 is the most common one in the Western population, also in some Arab populations. From my experience, usually we tend to see the GI manifestation first, mostly like with cholestasis and failure to thrive, even before seeing the pulmonary respiratory manifestation in children. And with increasing survival odds and organ transplantation, now we are seeing more adult with specific gastrointestinal complication, also apparent, such as colon cancer, which wasn't seen before because of the limited age limits. So when we talk in epidemiology, of course, the Western has lots of epidemiological studies that have been done, and it has been estimated between 1 in 2,000 to 1 in 2,500. In our population, the Middle Eastern is quite variable, but we won't forget that we have high consanguinity rate, and in the range of 25 to 60%. So maybe you are missing because, as you can see from this table, we do have like variable incidence, and maybe we do have more, but it's not been discovered because we have few challenges like availability of diagnostic technology across the region, and also lack of newborn screen, which includes the cystic fibrosis. When we talk about mutation, as we said, Delta 508 is the most prevalent, but we do see different variation of different mutations, and it's quite heterogeneous in all the Arab countries. This is a systematic review done by University of Qatar, where they've looked through the literature review and just mapped out all the genetic abnormalities in CFTR gene that were reported in the literature. So we don't know, it's just like the tips of iceberg, and I'm sure we have more. In Egypt, I found one article by Cairo University. Apparently, they do have a referral center for cystic fibrosis there, and they have described their experience. So in total, they had seen around, at the time of publication, they've seen around 100 patients, and the diagnosis of cystic fibrosis were attained in 36% of those 100 patients. And they were confirmed through diagnostic testing, and mostly were carrying the Delta 508 gene. 64% from those referred, although had some symptoms of cystic fibrosis, were negative in terms of testing because they were limited in the gene testing. Or it might signify that there are other mutations that was not picked up. On those 36% of those referred, majority presented with respiratory symptoms, and some even with advanced diseases, which means that they are being missed at some point. Most of the GI manifestation was failing to thrive and staturia with 75% and 66%. And as I said, Delta 508 was found as homozygous in 22.2% of those patients, while 38% only were heterozygous for the mutation, which signifies maybe there is another compound mutation with that, and 27% were completely negative. So now to the bulk of the talk, which is GI manifestation in cystic fibrosis. Meconium ileus is one of the first presentations that can be seen by neonatologists. And what is the problem there is that thickened meconium, which doesn't move through the gastrointestinal tract. It's usually 15 to 20% of CF newborns, but bear in mind that 90% of infants with meconium ileus have cystic fibrosis. So there is 10% who have meconium ileus, but they are not cystic fibrosis. But it puts the odds up there for diagnosis of cystic fibrosis. Usually they present with abdominal distension and vomiting, and sometimes we do see patients who have meconium peritonitis, which is an in utero perforation due to the meconium, long-standing meconium ileus. And those who have the meconium ileus might be also associated with others like malrotation and volvulus. When we talk about the malabsorption, and again, I won't go through that because yesterday it was beautifully described by Prof. Fouda. What happens is that the CFTR dysfunction impacts the bile salts, which are important for absorption of many proteins and nutrients. So these are due to the retention of the bile, this doesn't happen. And again, that will cause failure to thrive and malnutrition and vitamins abnormalities. The main thing that they present with is exocrine dysfunction, where majority of patients have exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. IRT is used, immunoreactive trypsinogen, is used as a neonatal screening test, but only for the first few months of life, from 1 to 3 months at max, because it is a protein which is released from the destructive pancreatic system and is found in the blood, but not for long. After that, IRT is not good for the screening. And patients who carry 2 severe mutations will develop pancreatic insufficiency. And those who have mild mutation, they usually pancreatic insufficiency. Recurrent pancreatitis incidence overall, it's a bit more than the general population, general population, at 1.7%. All patients with pancreatic insufficiency will have pancreatitis, but only 1 in 5, I meant all patients with pancreatitis are pancreatic insufficiency, but not all of them will show. So you have a high index of suspicion if you have a child with abdominal pain who's pancreatic insufficient that they might have pancreatitis. And there is inverse association between the severity of the CFTR genotype and the risk of pancreatitis. So the milder the mutation, the higher risk of pancreatitis. This is diabetically related cystic fibrosis statistics. So 20% of adolescents will present with that, and usually the main to make sure they have it is to do the oral glucose tolerance test. But majority are presenting in the adult age, around 40%, and in the elderly up to 50%. And sorry, that's elderly 40 plus. That was from the research when they, I don't consider the 30 plus are elderly. Anyway, they're also a risk of the diabetes type 2, those population which is normal as general populations. When we talk about the hepatobiliary complication, there are many of them, ranging from neonatal cholestasis, steatosis, and you can go through this list. Cholangiocarcinoma, it's rare, but as I said, as we are seeing more and more who are surviving into adulthood with prolonged inflammation, this might something being seen in the adult population later on. So for the hepatobiliary complication, around 2.5% of deaths in cystic fibrosis, and it's the third leading cause after respiratory failure and transplant-associated complication in this population. Usually they are diagnosed in the pediatric age with the hepatobiliary complications, and it has been thought that genetic modifiers may influence this complication. So when we talk about liver disease in cystic fibrosis, occurs in those with pancreatic insufficiency, and it's usually based not only on elevation of liver enzymes, but also on the presence of liver and spleen. And there is a criteria, and the ultrasound, and there is a criteria called the DeBrey criteria where you can assess for the liver involvement. It's never easy because sometimes you do have elevation of liver enzymes due for other reasons. The use of orthodeoxycholic acid is quite controversial, although we use it all the time, from the aspect that it's a cytoprotective, if anything else. DIOS, distal intestinal obstruction syndrome, usually happens in older children, and usually it's the equivalent of the meconium ileus in the newborn. It can present like constipation, but the only thing is that you might find a mass in the terminal ileum, and the problem is with the thick secretion rather than a true constipation. There is complete and incomplete, and there is an ISPGHAN definition for that. I won't go through because of the time limit. Usually the risk factors is the presence of meconium ileus in infancy, slow transient, intestinal transient, the mucosal abnormalities and dehydration of interluminal contact, and poor compliance with pancreatic enzyme therapy. This table shows you that the difference between DIOS and constipation in those population. DIOS usually present very acutely, and usually there is thickened stools and mucus, and how you manage it is by fluid and electrolyte correction and hyperosmolar enemas, while constipation is usually gradual over months or sometimes years, and you correct it, of course, with laxative. SIBO is also quite common in children with cystic fibrosis, and the problem, again, going back to the thick mucosa coupled with intestinal dysmotility, repeated or chronic use of antibiotic. These are all will impair bacteria killing and will alter the bacteria composition and overgrowth. The dysbiosis, this causes inflammation, and inflammation is a very is a known precursor for all the complications that happens from the GI point. One of the other complications is rectal prolapse, so be quite wary if a patient with failure to thrive and rectal prolapse present to you, that this could be cystic fibrosis. It happens because there is increased intra-abdominal pressure, also sometimes with ongoing constipation, chronic cough. It's also managed with manual reduction, and seldom that we go for surgical intervention. GERD, again, reflux is quite prevalent in patients with cystic fibrosis, and it might worsen the respiratory problem if there is aspiration. Of course, the same mechanism that happened in a child with otherwise normal with GER happens in those with cystic fibrosis. GI malignancy, as I said, this is something that we'll tend to see, but in the adult population. And the theory behind it is the chronic inflammation and mucosal changes, which are precursors to malignancy. And now with transplanted patient, lung heart transplant or lung liver transplant, they will have even more risk and needs to be early detected. So management is using the CFTR modulators, and they decrease the symptoms, respiratory symptom by 50%, gastrointestinal system by 30%, and also improve weight gain in 20%. So in summary, cystic fibrosis affects multiple organs with significant GI manifestation requiring specialized care. Addressing CF in Arab countries requires sustained research, improved registries, and strategies of healthcare enhancement. Emerging therapies, including new CFTR modulators and microbiome-targeted treatment, hold promise for more effective management and long-term recovery. Thank you.
Thank you very much دكتورة خولة، يعني ما شاء الله عليكي، ربنا يبارك فيك حبيبتي. أنا مبسوطة جدا الحقيقة. أنا I want share with you the cause, 3 causes to make me happy today. First cause first cause الحقيقة إن إحنا في حضرة الدكتورة سناء يوسف، وهي أستاذتنا و our icon